All right, everyone. Game Wolf plays Hexen. Yeah, boys. This playthrough, I'll be playing as all three characters. So, imagine how that's gonna go. Well, I figured I'd have to do this game eventually. And it took some planning on how I was dividing my time, because this is not a linear game. Anyway, starting as the Le Fighter, I can punch objects. They release things sometimes. These two-headed guys, the Etins, I'm not going to remember all the enemy names. But these two-headed guys, they are the Goomba of the game. They will just be everywhere. And in fact, every so often, this game will spawn. There's like an interval checker or something that determines if it's going to spawn enemies or not. And they'll spawn those guys, like in groups of 3. This is a masterful use of the Doom engine. Lots of things can happen. Lots of turning, moving parts. Look up like poly objects if you want to know how some of that works on this engine. But it's a lot of smoke and mirrors to make some really cool shit happen. I'm not even sure how the stained glass effects works. I mean, I get the punching, of course, but you know, it's a very thin wall, you know. Anyway, the object, well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of objects. There's going to be a lot of key hunting, switch hunting. Sometimes there's various artifacts that get stored in the inventory I have to take a look at and do things with. There'll be puzzle solving. Some of the elements when you're playing the game are random, and the game plays out differently based on your class. And it's not just because you're playing as a different person. The enemy layouts do change. Not all of them per se, but enough of them do. It was worth me doing it 3 times. But yeah, the fighter's first weapon is just his fists. So, we're gonna have to play a little while before I get the next weapon. That'll be next video. You don't get weapon 2 until you enter the hub proper. There's that bullhorn switch. These walls move from side to side. I got the Goomba with 2 heads. Yeah, we modified that like cyberpunk film, Super Mario Brothers, the movie. By the way, you cannot get that at any available streaming service. I don't know who owns it, but I bet no one's happy with that. I think I'd watch that though, again. Why not? It used to come on reruns a lot. I don't see why I wouldn't. Punch the glass, boy! Okay, so these 2 items I start with. First of all, look, I got a key. So these 2 items I started with is emerald key. The flechettes, they are basically, you drop them and they are bombs, but they work different for each class. The fighter will throw them as a grenade. And we got the quartz flask, which is basically you restore 25 health. And you can get up to 25 of both of these. Expect to use them a lot. So, I worried about running out of inventory space due to the fact that there are some respawning, but the game setup is quite forgiving. In fact, most of the times I die are the level design kicking my ass because it's very clever and thoughtful. It can be cryptic too. I'd watch out if I were you. At least I can punch through these stalactite, stalagmite freaks of nature. I guess we could call them the Siamese ceiling ground things. I guess. Anyway, now we're through here. Where else can we possibly go? We punch these guys with the 2 heads. Okay. Be mindful of the moon switch. Remember what some of these switches look like, because they'll come up again. There's only so many switch types. And it's not like I remember what all of them do precisely, but, you know, they'll pop up. Press the other moon switch. I'm just going to call it the moon switch if you don't mind. Alright, so, I guess I can explain this other way this AC works, which is armor class, if you're familiar with D&D. This is kind of like D&D Light, I would say, in terms of where it borrows its influences. But the AC is basically your armor. It goes up to a max of 20. Consider it as if you times it by 5 and you get how Doom armor would work. And I don't know how each set works specifically in regards to how much damage I take. I do know that each particular armor item gives you more armor or less based on your class. So you should know that. Like, for example, I think the plate mail is best on fire. Or, like, the helmet is probably best on mage. Or something like that. You can look on the wiki for exactitudes if you want. Yeah, I like to break the environment in case shit comes out. There's a lot of hidden stuff you can get that way. Alright, to move forward, you must punch the bell. I'm gonna get you, sucker! I'll get you to the ends of the earth! Or that one part in Batman where he figures out he's in a dream. Both scenes involving a bell tower. How about that? Yeah, it kind of sucks to have to punch these bat guys, the Afrits, because they can projectile me. Oh yeah, that's another thing. None of these enemies, just like in Heretic, none of these enemies have a hit scan. Very polite, I would say. What else are you gonna do? Gonna show them what you've gone through. We're gonna teleport through that middle spot. It's a teleporter. That portals are important. They get you to other areas. I'll also say that I'll make sure I'll find all the secret areas of each hub too. There's 5 hubs. We're about to enter the first hub. This is more of an introduction area to kind of get you used to how the game plays. I'll see you next time. I'll enter the 7 portals. Sadly, I don't have enough fists for all of them, but we'll manage.